Hey everybody, Blake T. Wild here, and welcome to another episode of the Comic Shtick Podcast, the podcast where comics are my shtick. And on this week's episode, there's very little comic stuff going on, because as you can see from the title, there's too much Disney. So much. I had no idea D23 was happening this past week. I was expecting to talk about The Boys Season 2 and, I don't know, the Saturday Night Live drama movie. And maybe that would be it. But instead, there's just so much Disney-related stuff that I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it. It may be. We might. But probably not. Of course, let me know what you want to hear me talk about in upcoming episodes. Feel free to leave your suggestions in the comments. I'm happy to take suggestions on what I should talk about. I know Absolute DC's coming up in the next couple months. I need to get my hands on that. If anybody knows good websites to pre-order comics from, let me know, because I was going to pre-order some Absolute DC books and then a couple of other things that piqued my interest off of Midtown Comics, which is where I usually order books from online. They wanted $30 fucking for... I like how I didn't try to swear at the beginning when I said the title of the video, because apparently that's a thing on YouTube. They wanted $30 for shipping for those books. For the pre-order, they add like an extra charge or something for when you do pre-orders, and I was not having that, so I didn't even bother. But yeah, if anybody has any recommendations of good comic websites to order from, maybe My Comic Shop, I'll try there, see how that goes. But, yeah, as always, check me out on Instagram at NotBlakeWild. Check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos, where you can read my original comics, The Custodians, Agents of Cross, issues 1 and 2. They are love letters to the 60s era of comics, over 60 pages, over 50 pages, depending on the issue, and full of fake advertisements and just pure fun comics, crazy ideas that just go out there as the series is going to progress. I also have all of the issues of Destructo Boy being posted on there as well. You get early access to videos, original art, commentaries, movies, stuff like that on Patreon. And my Etsy shop, BlakeTWild.etsy.com, where I will be uploading for sale The Custodians, Agents of Cross, issues 1 and 2, after Tucson Comic Con. I am going to be attending Tucson Comic Con 2024, August 30th to September 1st. This month, end of this month, beginning of next month. So if you're in the Tucson, sort of southeastern area of Arizona or so, somewhere around there, then stop on by, say hi at booth AA183. I'll have buttons, stickers, The Custodians, Agents of Cross books, Destructo Boy books, available for purchase. If I stretch or stop a lot, it's because I'm very fucking sore. I have finally started getting back into a workout program. That sounds like I'm joining like a jazzercise club or something. I've started working out again. It's been a couple months. It's been quite a few months since I've actually properly worked out, and I just dove right back into the deep end. I am training every day. I am also eating a lot more than I was. So I feel like I just have so much more energy throughout the day now. Aside from today, when I did get sick in the morning because some peppers upset my stomach, and I just did not feel good when I got home. But yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energized. I jogged for like 20 minutes on Monday evening, which was crazy. Although it was probably about 10 minutes of jogging, 10 minutes of walking in total, just because I have not jogged in a long time. But, yeah, I'm trying to get back into shape. Deadpool and Wolverine really was a slap in the face. I saw, oh, well, hey, if that rich millionaire, billionaire, 50-something-year-old with a private chef, private cook, people who buy his groceries for him and take steroids can do it, so can I. Just without all of that other stuff. So I've been eating a lot more. I'm trying to pack on some extra, calories to build back up the muscle that I had before. I'm not out of shape, essentially, but I always feel like I have the body of a 1950s leading man, whereas I want to sort of get to a more 1990s, early 2000s leading man body. I don't want Hugh Jackman now, but maybe Hugh Jackman in X-Men. Maybe something realistic. Just back in shape, build my muscle back up, get the tone back into my body. Before I stopped working out from school, and then I got hit by that guy's truck. So now I am working on that. And yeah, wish me luck. Let's get out right into things with Netflix has officially canceled Zack Snyder's entire Army of the Dead universe. Remember Army of the Dead? That movie came out, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, what a crazy concept. Las Vegas is overtaken by zombies, and it's cordoned off from the rest of the world? Wow, I've never heard that before. And then we all watched the movie, and we were like, why is it so blurry? Was that a UFO in the background? Are aliens a part of this? Why were those zombies robots? Do you remember that? Does anybody care enough to remember that fucking insane film? And then there's that whole scene later where they find skeletons that are dressed exactly like them, sort of implying that they're stuck in a time loop or something. What the fuck was that? And then they made the prequel movie about the German locksmith or whatever, the safecracker. I didn't watch that, but it had nothing to do with zombies. They wanted to do like an animated series. They wanted to do more live action films, a continuation of the storyline, because like the one guy, I think is it the black guy? I can't remember who the last survivor is of the film, but he gets out of there and he's bitten somehow and he turns into a zombie. And the only good thing about that film is the 5 or so minute opening credit sequence. That's, the slow motion with Richard Cheese playing over the top of it for some reason. That's my favorite part about the whole movie. Everything after that, it just fucking slam on that handbrake. But you don't have to worry about that because Zack Snyder's entire Army of Darkness franchise has been canned. Unless he somehow tricks another studio or company into taking it. Because I don't know if he owns it, or if it's like a Netflix thing. It's probably like he owns it, I'd imagine. But he's too busy making Star Wars, but they say fuck. The next thing is another Netflix little announcement. And that is the official Ghostbusters Netflix series has been officially greenlit. I don't know why I put official in the first time. Greenlit with Elliot Callan, who was the co-creator, writer, I believe, of the Netflix Mystery Science Theater 3000 reboot. I personally was not a fan of that version. I didn't really care for the characters or the characterization of the robots. I didn't really bother with it after like the first movie or so that I watched of it. I just wasn't a fan compared to like the originals. Mystery Science Theater, some of their skits are fun, but I feel like most people think the way I do, which is that like the skits and like the in-between stuff, you can take it or leave it. I'm there to see them have witty dynamicism and quick lines for the movie. But anyway, Elliot Callan was also the show writer, a writer on The Daily Show, and he also wrote a very well-regarded comic book from Marvel Comics, apparently called Spider-Man and the X-Men, which I had never heard of before now. He is going to be the showrunner of the Netflix Ghostbusters series, which is weird that it's officially now greenlit. I figured that had happened like last year or 2 years ago when they actually announced it. Right? So, like, did they announce that it was being made and then produce like a pilot episode that they then showed Mr. Netflix or whoever, and then he was like, "You get greenlit," and he pulls the and they fall down into a room where they have to immediately get typing on the rest of the script for the next episodes. But I'm excited. Of course, I got my Ghostbusters display right here that I'm slowly trying to find time to work on. I got Slimer complete. I still need to make a video about that little fucker. And I got all the ghosts. This is my section for my Ghostbusters customs that I'm going to be making, based on the ghosts and monsters that appear, mostly in the Ghostbusters video game, but a couple of others sections as well, such as The Real Ghostbusters or Extreme Ghostbusters, or if there's anybody from the live-action movies that I can think of. I already got Walter Peck over here, and the mayor from the game, Rick Moranis, and Janine and Sigourney Weaver right there. But anyway, I'm excited for this. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's well animated and it actually looks good. Netflix animated shows like this, it reminds me of Camp Cretaceous, Jurassic World, Camp Cretaceous, which I did watch the first season of fairly recently, and that's actually a good show. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I didn't continue past the first season, but I hear it's pretty good up until about season 2 or 3 or so. After that, it just falls downhill and gets too ridiculous. There's like evil fucking robots and a whole other island. It just gets insane. But I really enjoyed Camp Cretaceous, and I would recommend it to fans of Jurassic Park. It felt more like Jurassic Park than the Jurassic World film and then subsequent films ever did. So, in my head canon, it's the original Jurassic Parks, Jurassic World, and then Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, and I'm fine ignoring everything else. Even the new movie that's coming out with whoever. But anyway, highly recommend Camp Cretaceous. It's a fun show. It covers my favorite part of disaster films like this, like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, any zombie movie, which is the initial outbreak. That is always, I think I've talked about it before on the podcast. That is always the section of these kind of stories that I'm always most interested in. I think it's just the most, interesting, for lack of better words, because it's the most relatable thing, because that initial outbreak, it goes from a reality that we can understand of everyday life that just devolves into chaos and horror, and that really pulls at the strings of your heart and your mind, and what kind of mental toll you might go through experiencing something like that. Like, it's just a much more relatable story than, say, A Quiet Place, set a while after the initial apocalypse, or A Quiet Place 2. But, anyway, moving on to Saturday night. Not the day, which is tomorrow when this comes out, but the movie. Saturday Night released their trailer, which is apparently like a spoof of like a Steve Jobs biopic or something, or some other like serious drama movie. But if it's as good as that trailer came out to be, then that looks like a pretty goddamn good movie. And the guy that they got playing Chevy Chase is the guy who played the Riddler in Gotham, a show that I personally love. And he looks exactly like Chevy Chase. If you don't know what this is, it's set in the 70s. It's the first ever, like, it follows Lord Michaels and, like, the crew of the original Saturday Night Live guys and girls as they're trying to put on this show that's never been done before. It's live. It has, like, young 20 to 30-year-olds, whatevers. There's no coherent storylines. It's just a weird, crazy sketch show that's a bit more adult than previous sketch shows, like Betty White's show that she had, or the Mary Tyler Moore show, which is, I don't know, I always think it's kind of similar in that similar vein. Although the Mary Tyler Moore show, I think, did have more like running storylines, although it kind of seems a bit more sketchy, like it's more fast-paced. I don't know. Anyway, trailer for Saturday night looks very good. I am excited to check it out. I don't know if it's like releasing in theaters or if it's going to be streaming only. I hope it's not streaming only. I kind of hope it just goes to theaters, but I don't know if it'll work very well. But if it's advertised properly, hey, maybe. Yeah, that concludes everything I have to talk about that is not Disney related. So as I said at the top of the show, D23 was this past week or so. D23, as I discussed last episode, stands for Disney 23. 23 being 1923, the year that Disney Company was founded by Walt Disney. And I don't know when they started D23, because I feel like I never heard about it until like maybe like 10 years ago or so. Although I believe it is like a stock shareholder event, but they just decided to like market it as a like convention, like sometime in the 2010s probably, just to get that extra cash and to like sort of ensnare that nerd Disney adult culture, is what I assume happened. I haven't really looked into it just because I honestly don't care that much. If you know the history of D23, please let me know. So, D23. I'm going to start off, I have this section titled Other Disney-Owned Shit. Okay. So, of course, we have to talk about, before this, I suppose, the fact that a doctor, I think it was a husband, died from a food allergy at a Disney restaurant. And Disney, after the widower, began to sue Disney for, killing their spouse. I think I can't remember if it's the man or a woman. I thought it was the wife that died and the husband was suing, but then somebody told me it was the husband that died and the wife is suing, whatever. So the spouse sues Disney, right? And then Disney comes out and says, oh no, your spouse signed up for Disney Plus free month trial 2 years ago. That means you can't sue us because it's in the terms and conditions. How fucked is that? Disney, same company that threatened legal action against a preschool. And also a child's grave because they wanted to put Spider-Man, because this 5-year-old was obsessed with Spider-Man. They wanted to put it on the gravestone, but Disney was like, well, fucking sue your asses. How are they going to find out? Here's the thing. How are they going to find out if nobody says anything? Like, if your relative dies and you're like, oh, let's get him a custom-made headstone. Let's put fucking Mickey Mouse. Well, I guess you could do Mickey Mouse now. You could do Mickey Mouse since the original's in public domain. Let's do Goofy's big face on this headstone. And just don't tell anybody. Just find a company that'll do it. Then, how's Disney gonna know? They don't have lawyers walking around every fucking cemetery looking for trademark infringement, do they? Anyway, into the other Disney-owned shit. Avatar, Fire and Ash has officially been announced. Get ready to journey back to Pandora in theaters December 19th, 2025. Well, I guess it hasn't been officially announced. They've just officially titled it. James Cameron says, quote, fire can represent hatred, violence, trauma, possible misuse of power, and ash represents the aftermath of all that power, of all that energy, rather, which is grief and having to live with what you've done. If you haven't checked it out yet, I do have a video where I go through and discuss and also intercuts with my first ever watching of Avatar, in which I play a very heavy drinking game where I have this giant jug of blue liqueur that I'm just drinking from quite often. I hadn't eaten anything that day, so it hits me quick and it hits me hard. I'm just taking shots for the whole 2 hours, something long showing that Avatar is. So check that out on my channel. It's called Getting Wasted and Watching Avatar for the First Time or something like that. Hey, that just means that I'm going to have to do it again for Way of Water when this movie comes out. So yay, I get to get drunk and wear my big dumb ears. Oh yeah, I'm also wearing a crazy wig. And I have my Avatar shirt on, and I look like a dork. So check that out. Freaky Friday 2. Remember that movie where Jamie Lee Curtis and Hilary Duff get their bodies swapped? No, or their minds swapped into each other's bodies, and it's like, it happens on a Friday, and it's freaky? Well, they've named Freaky Friday 2. They've titled it Freakier Friday. I assume it's probably going to involve 3 generations of whatever the family's name is, possibly in a way similar to the Halloween 2018 reboot, where it's Jamie Lee Curtis as the grandmother, Hilary Duff as the mother, and then someone, McKenna Grace. I don't know, she's popular right now, I think, as the daughter. And then all three of their minds are going to get swapped around. The daughter's going to go into the mom, and then the mom is going to go into the daughter, and then the grandma goes into the mom. Or maybe the girl goes into the grandma goes into the girl, and then the mom stays the same, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there's a math equation to where you can figure out how many variables and variations of this there are. ZooTWOpia has been announced. ZooTWOpia was a film that I saw in theaters when it came out, and I was pleasantly surprised by. I was shocked by the sort of message of corruption and underlying sort of discussion it had regarding sort of like race relations, and it was very similar to a sort of Reagan-era government and its disregard for the black community, which I thought was crazy for a movie about a talking rabbit. But I really enjoy ZooTWOpia. It has a character whose last name is Wild, so I kind of have to like it, just to represent. And it has Jason Bateman. I love Jason Bateman. I don't know who plays Judy Hopps. I can't remember who that was. Idris Elba is in it. That woman with the shrill, raspy voice that plays the lamb, who was also in Venom. I'm blanking completely on her name right now. She was also in it. But, yeah, I really enjoyed ZooTWOpia. And now they're making a sequel. It's not called ZooTWOpia. That's just what I've called it. But I think it's a pretty clever title. I can't remember if I'm dreaming this or not. I gotta check my pictures, because I saved a bunch of stuff on here. I can't even remember what it is. It's just like, it's a looping, like all of the characters chasing after each other. Is that a real thing? I don't remember. But ZooTWOpia, that they haven't said anything else. They just announced that it's in production. I don't know if it's going to be as good as the original. I don't also know if you really had to make a second one. Does ZooTWOpia have as big of a following to really warrant a second one? Based on the amount of porn I've seen of it, I guess so. Something that I had no expectations of coming out is Mufasa, the Lion King. Wait. Mufasa. Oh, yeah, Simba's the younger one. I was thinking this was like, I don't know what I thought this was. I guess Lion King is what I thought this was. I don't give a shit about Lion King. I had never seen the original film completely. I've seen parts of it here and there. Don't give a shit. It's just Macbeth with lions, and they ripped off Kimba, the white lion. I have seen Lion King 2.5 when I was a child, I think, and I like that one because it had Timon and Pumbaa. But Mufasa the Lion King is a prequel to the Jon Favreau Lion King, which is a photorealistic-looking one, where all the animals are realistic-looking, and it's a completely CGI, you know. It's apparently a prequel to that version of the Lion King, where Mufasa is a little cub, I guess. Is Scar in that movie? I don't even fucking remember. I don't remember because I never saw it. But yeah, they actually did release a trailer for that one. I didn't bother watching it because, as I aforementioned, I don't give a shit. But I don't know, Mufasa? Really? Why didn't you just go straight to Timon and Pumbaa? Probably because they look horrible because you made them photorealistic. Who wants to watch a photorealistic meerkat and warthog hang out for an hour and a half? Snow White, starring that young woman who every man incel on the internet fucking hates or something. I can't even remember her name. I just know people fucking hate her for some reason. It came out, and it also has horrifically looking CG photorealistic versions of the dwarves. Although when I was a child, I was trying to learn all the fables and whatnot that I could. I thought it was Snow White and the Seven Doors. And I was like, oh my. There's like, she finds 7 doors in the middle of the woods, and she goes, like, I don't know, it's like they take her to different places or something, is what I thought in my mind before my grandma laughed at me and told me, no, it's not doors, it's dwarves. who are short people. I was like, oh, I guess that makes more sense. But, yeah, anyway, like I said, I don't care about Disney. Why am I talking about this? Because I needed an episode, and this is a bunch of stuff that was maybe fun to talk about. Snow White, never seen the original. Don't have any thoughts or opinions on the actor in it. Is this the one that has Gal Gadot? Frozen 3 gets its official announcement, officially in production or something, or at least it's going to be. Frozen 2 is fine. It's enjoyable for the most part. Raises more questions than it does answers, I feel. Watched it again recently. It looks good. Olaf is fun. Sven and the reindeer are weird. I never liked that. I don't know. I always thought that it would be more interesting to make the reindeer. Is Sven the reindeer? Or is Sven the crazy dude that talks to the reindeer? Like, I get what the whole point of it is. It's like, oh, it's the dog, and like the guy, he's talking to the reindeer like it's a dog. And I guess he gives it the voice. But I think it would have been more interesting if they'd just given him the voice, or like even just have the actor who does the blonde guy, have him do the goofy voice like this, or whatever he does, but animate Sven, and then like when people like, I don't know, something like Scooby-Doo maybe, but then like it cuts away and it's like a third person is looking in on this, and it's just a dude talking to a reindeer, and the reindeer's like, you know, something like that. I don't know. I never enjoyed their dynamic. Frozen 3. I remember Frozen 2, something I didn't realize until just recently. I'd have to watch it again to try and remember what this whole thing was, but I remember watching it like a month or two ago is when I did. And I was like, Frozen 2's whole movie is about like being your own person, like even more so than the original, and like finding your voice as a woman, and like growing up. Like it makes sense. Like the general idea of it makes sense based on the idea of little girls watched this film when they were young, and now they've grown up enough to where they're going to start experiencing like the harsher sort of realities of life, and let's teach them the lessons of how to like believe in themselves and stuff like that. It doesn't help that I barely remember the premise of the film. Like I said, if I watched it again, I'm sure that it would come to me, but I just so little brain power went to remembering this. But there's just something. There's something about it where it's like it kind of seems a little hypocritical, maybe. Where it's like, oh yeah, you want your message to be like something good for like young women and girls, but then they went and did something else that kind of counteracts that idea. I don't remember. Whatever. I'm gonna have to watch it again to get that idea, and God knows when that's gonna be, because I don't care. Elsa, ironically enough, though, is the hottest Disney princess. I'll die on that hill. Here's something fucking I don't think anybody saw coming. Maybe. Toy Story 5 is being released summer 2026, which means that they are most likely well far into development for it. You'd hope, right? And the general idea of Toy Story 5 is that the Bonnie, the little girl who now has the toys for the past 2.5, 2.25 movies, maybe? She gets them at the end of 3, right? She gets them, no, or does she get them in 3? Or is it like halfway through 3? Anyway, she's the new kid that has them. The toys are, the image that they shared is Bonnie, the little girl, under her covers in her bed in the middle of the night, holding a tablet in her hands, and it's illuminating her. And then beyond her, at the end of the bed, are all of the toys looking on in horror. And it's going to be about the toys versus technology or something, and like what it means to be a toy in today's modern society, and I suppose where the prospect of raising children goes in regards to how much of an influence technology has over them. Like, what does that do to their imaginations? How does it impact their play? How does it impact their like development of their minds? Like, where does it hinder? Where does it help them? stuff like that, I'm sure. But I think the biggest shock for everybody is that Woody's back. He's just back for some reason, even though at the end of the fourth one, he left on, like, some kind of spiritual toy journey. And now he's just suddenly, oh, hey, I'm back. Howdy, howdy, howdy. I don't think Forky was in the image either, so what happened to Forky? Is Forky dead? Did Forky get murdered? Did Forky get tossed in the fucking trash can and get murdered in between these films? That's what I want to know. Where is Forky? I have a question. Where is Forky? Okay, moving on. Incredibles 3 got announced. And that's a crazy thing because that was like, I don't think the second one performed very well, did it? I honestly didn't expect a third one to be coming out. And based on the logo, which is like Roman numerals 3, kind of Roman numerals 3, it's just the hashes, the dash marks. I think it's going to involve a time jump because the second one took place immediately, or more or less, after the first one, so they're all about the same age. This one, I suspect, there's going to be a time jump to where the kids are all older. Maybe Violet and Dash are like late teens, early 20s, and Jack is like a teenager or a youngster. Based on the 3 and how it's laid out, I think it's like short, medium, tall sort of design. So I'd imagine it's probably going to focus on the kids primarily, because that would make sense. The first one focuses on Mr. Incredible. The second one focuses on Mrs. Incredible. Don't know why I had trouble remembering her name. And then the third one is going to focus on Jack, Violet, and Dash. That just makes sense thematically. The live-action Lilo and Stitch is coming to theaters summer 2025. I don't believe I talked about this last episode. I don't know why I would. I don't think I did. I'm excited to see this. They showed... Maybe I did. Did they show... Was it D23 or San Diego Comic-Con that they showed the Stitch thing? It might have been D23. I'm excited for this. I love Lilo and Stitch. I love the animated series. I was obsessed with that show when I was a child. I loved all the different little aliens and like experiments, experiment of the week sort of thing. If you're unfamiliar, it goes, let's see if I remember this, Lilo and Stitch the film, 2001 or 2002-ish. Oh, fuck. What's the next one? Stitch has a glitch? Maybe. Lilo and Stitch 3? No. Lilo and Stitch has a glitch. Lilo and Stitch, the show. The third one. And then I think a fifth one? Fuck, I can't remember. My wife and I were trying to figure it out on Disney Plus a little while, like a month or two ago. After we watched the first one, because we didn't realize how many fucking movies there were, and I was trying to figure out like when they came out, and they all came out within like a year of each other. But yeah, the show's really good, and the original film is beautifully done. I just rewatched it, like I said, about a month or so ago. Fantastic film. I was obsessed with the soundtrack as a child. I absolutely adored all of the music and the like Hawaiian sort of all the songs and influenced music. I really enjoyed that. I hope to God that they make this Lilo and Stitch. It's not a musical, but music plays a very influential part of the film, because music as a sort of cultural aspect and a communal aspect is a very important thing to, like Polynesian and the Hawaiian tribal sort of nomadic people's cultures. So I am going to be very upset if they don't carry that over into this one, because I do think it was very well done. The original, it's Elvis is the most of the music, but there's something about that to where it's like, oh yeah, they intermix these two cultures, and Lilo is like this intermixture of sort of a classic Hawaiian culture but sort of in a modern role of it. And I hope that they do that very well, because Lilo and Stitch, it's one of the few Disney movies that I particularly care for. The other being Mulan, which, as we all know, was fucking awful. Mulan is my favorite Disney princess, I'd like to point out. She's the most badass. She's awesome. But Lilo and Stitch and Mulan were definitely the two Disney films that I watched the most as a child. And those are the ones that, like I said, hold the biggest place in my heart, and I really want to see this retelling carry the chutzpah and the sort of feelings that I had of the original, hopefully, to this. If it doesn't, and if it comes a little short, that's fine. I just want it to be done well. I hope it, you know, what am I trying to say? I hope that it conveys the Hawaiian culture in a way that's proper. I'd imagine it will. In today's modern woke society, that it will. But, I don't know, it'd be interesting if they changed a couple of things just to, you know, because, like, I don't know, as much, like, what's really changed in terms of Lilo and Nani's situation? Like, not much, now that I think about it. I went, as someone who visited Hawaii last year for a couple weeks on my honeymoon, looking back, I don't think much would have really changed, aside from probably the prices going up. Maybe their house will be a bit smaller, although at the time when Lilo and Stitch happens, it's supposed to be, like, fairly recent after their parents died in the storm. But, like, I don't know if I ever talked about this, but Hawaii, beautiful, beautiful place. Naturally, it's a beautiful place. Downtown is where we stayed in Honolulu. Oahu, I should say, because I only went to Oahu. Far too much money to island hop. Not doing that. Big Island's probably mostly pretty rural and nice, I believe. Kauai. I can't remember the other ones. Anyway, this is specifically related to Oahu, which is where Lilo and Stitch takes place. Is it? Is it? Or is it on the Big Island? Or is it on one of the other ones? I don't fucking know. But anyway, downtown. It's fairly modern. Very large, sort of big skyscrapers. It's kind of what you expect. The hotel that we stayed at was right down the street from a very shady and seedy-looking strip bar. But then you drive about 10 minutes in any direction, aside from, like, you know, towards the ocean, obviously. And then you start seeing buildings that haven't been updated since the 70s. One of them that comes to mind was this, like, middle school that we saw. And it just looks so depressing, because it clearly had not been updated since about the 70s or 80s, probably when it was built, at least on the outside. I cannot imagine it was done very well on the inside. And then you keep going another maybe half hour, and you're sort of probably halfway across Oahu, maybe to the shore by that time, and you're just starting to see buildings. If you drive through the nice suburbs, and then you get beyond that, and then you get to the places where, oh, well, you know, you can't really afford to update your house or to fix anything because the cost of importation for all of this materials is way too much, and people aren't making enough money. Hawaii, Oahu especially, is really such a, wow, colonialism really did win, didn't it? Because I remember we were driving up along the North Shore after we had gone on the tour of Kualoa Ranch, which is where they shot parts of Jurassic Park and all kinds of movies. It's this beautiful, most beautiful scenery I've ever seen. Rolling mountains with clouds that cascaded over them slowly, and it's this massive valley that goes to a precipice of a cliff that overlooks the ocean. Massive wind gusts blow through the entire place. And then you go back down, you're driving along the North Shore, and you can see where houses that were built once are standing there, and now the ocean is cascading right up against the back of them. And you're like, oh, that's not good. But you continue, and there's ranches and just beautiful mountain ranges. And then we got to a section entering I can't remember what town it was, but there was this giant curving driveway, and built into this beautiful, like, sloping mountain face was a giant marble white cross and a giant church built right behind it, and that was just very depressing to me. Christianity just come and fucking stomp their fist across another culture. It also doesn't help that before I went on the honeymoon, I had read a book all about the torrid history of Hawaii and how fucked up it was, about how business owners overthrew the leading government after the king died, and his sister took over, and then they put her under house arrest, and they fucked up everybody. Another thing that probably hasn't changed very much, and another thing that I did not like to see, is that sort of cultural appropriation of such as the... There is that plantation place on Oahu, like sort of up on the North Shore. I can't remember what it is. I didn't want to go there. It's the Polynesian Center or some shit like that, but in reality, it's like, it's owned by like the Mormon Church or something crazy like that. It's really an indoctrination kind of place. Like, they try to get you to join up with them, and it's more like a theme park idea of what it means, of like a Polynesian culture. But I suppose you can make the argument that it's still fine because they're still educating people to an extent, but like at what cost? The same thing went for Disney. Bringing this back to Disney. My wife loves Disney. She really wanted to go to Aulani. We wound up going there 3 times, not to stay, just to like spend a couple hours to the day there. We went the first night and had a very expensive dinner, which was delicious, at their really fancy restaurant that they had on site. And then we went back the next day, and it made me very uncomfortable, just seeing all of these poor sods who... Here's the thing about Oahu, and I suppose Hawaii in general, is that pretty much all the jobs, I'd imagine, come from that sort of hospitality, hotel, resort sector. Not a lot of upward momentum in climbing any ladders and getting any pay raises. They definitely don't want that to happen. And you gotta deal with absolute entitled shitheads. And I felt so bad for all these people that were working there. I felt so bad for the people who looked, classically native Hawaiian. This takes me back to when, like, David in Lilo and Stitch is sort of... what does he do? He's a fire spinner or something, and Lilo's there, or not Lilo, Nani is there, and she's dressed up in all of the like extravagant like feather leaves and like the classic dress and everything like that, and it's just a bunch of fat tourists sitting around watching them dance. It felt very much like that. I remember one time we were leaving the resort, going out the front doors. And it's, the classic, like, drive up and the big sliding doors, blah, blah, and they have some guy standing there. And this fucking old dude just huffing and puffing and marching from the parking lot. And in his hands are a couple of leis, which are flower necklaces. And he turns to the guy that's standing there that has nothing to do but just sort of sit there. And, like, maybe he's, I don't know if he was, like, what the fuck is the name for the people who get the luggage? The luggage boy? I don't know if that's what he was doing, or if he's just a guy that sits there at the front and like bows his head to make people feel important, Maybe he did both. But this fucking old white guy, I had to fucking go get my own goddamn leis because you don't sell any here. And he didn't swear as much. It's paraphrasing, but it was the general idea. It wouldn't have shocked me if he did paraphrase that much. I think the furthest he went was damned. But he was very mad that those goddamn Hawaiians didn't give him his flower necklaces. And that was just pitiful to see. And that poor guy just had to sit there and take it as the guy marched past him. And as I walked by, I go, oh, how dare you not give him a lei? And then we both laughed at that dumb old man. But anyway, I am very excited. This is like the first thing that I've actually been excited for. Is this Lilo and Stitch? Anyway, tangent aside, back to what I was talking about. Tron Ares had a teaser trailer released. Jared Leto is starring in it as the villain, and it seemingly is following along the idea of Tron Legacy, which is another great film that I enjoy. which is they want... Also, Evan Peters is in this. Peter Evans? Evan Peters. Evan Peters. He's in this, apparently. It's about the Tron people coming to the real world. And that was the idea of the sequel. That is what Clue wanted to do. Of course, he fails because Jeff Bridges sacrifices himself, and then Olivia Wilde. Olivia Wilde? Yeah, Olivia Wilde, fuck. She and the main guy escape into the real world. She's a Tron person. She just goes to the real world, and like they ride off into the night on a motorcycle. I wonder if they're going to show up at any point, or if they're going to be referenced at all, if it's going to be like, oh yeah, they died, they were killed, and like we'll see their photos up on a screen or something. But it looks good. Costumes look nice. It seems like an interesting premise. I like Tron Legacy. Tron, the original, it's fine. It's interesting to see where this property goes. There's also a TV show about Tron, which I think was also an animated series from Netflix. Okay, we are now done with that segment called Other Disney-Owned Shit. Now we get to a new segment that I like to call Parks, parentheses America, because I'm specifically talking about the Disney announcements for all of their parks, specifically in America. So, I've never been to Disneyland. I've never been to Disney World. The only theme park that I've gone to is Universal Studios, once in about 2007 to 2009-ish, that range. It wasn't 2008, because 2008 is when I went to San Diego Comic-Con, and it was a horrible experience. It was super fun. I got my... I don't know. Should I just turn the camera? I have my autographed photo right here of the Joker, signed by creator and designer of the Joker, Jerry Robinson, the original fucking guy, who also co-created Robin and a couple of other famous Batman characters. And it says to Blake, Jerry Robinson. So that's awesome. I got that when I was so young. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I love that art. I got that there. And I also met Seth Green at 2008 Comic-Con, and I was a child, and I was about as tall as him. But even then, it was way too crowded, way too expensive. I didn't really like it. I don't really want to go back, ever. That was enough for me. But, yeah, back to what I was saying. I've never gone to a theme park or anything like that, except for Universal. Universal in L.A. once. And that was it. I'm more of a zoo guy. Specifically the San Diego Zoo's Safari Park, which I don't know why they renamed it to that, because its original title of Wild Animal Park was far superior. And that is a massive, sprawling, multi-acres of just sort of like a nature reserve almost. They're really big on conservation there, and I always just really loved it because the animals actually have room to roam around and just do their animal doings. It's not like the San Diego Zoo, which I personally do not like. It's too cramped and just doesn't give the animals enough space. I'd never really cared for it, even as a kid. I didn't like it. But yeah, I've never gone to Disney World, Disneyland. As a child, I hated mascots. I didn't like them, so I didn't want to go. And I was just like, even as a kid, I was like, that's just a dude in a costume. Like, that's not the fucking character or something. It's like the same thing for like, what's the rat? Chuck E. Cheese. That's not like a giant rat cartoon that's come to life. That's just a man working in a costume. And I don't like it. I don't like that I can't see his face. And why don't they talk? That was another big thing I never liked, was that the fact that the mascots never spoke. It was creepy. And I didn't care for him. But now, as I've said, I've married someone who loves Disney and Disneyland and Disney World. She went dozens of times as a child to mostly Disney World. So we are going to Disneyland in October for their Halloween event. So expect a video about that, about grown man's first time at Disneyland or something along those lines. I don't know. So I figured I've been getting more into the park aspect of Disney. We've been watching the some Disney vlogging videos. Lisa Land is one that I highly recommend. She's pretty much the only one that we watch. That and Ordinary Adventures occasionally. But Lisa Land, I love her. She puts so much work and effort into her videos. They're very well put together. And just like me, she's a very underrated YouTuber who doesn't get enough views. So anyway, let's talk about what's coming to the Disneyland parks. A new attraction at Avengers Campus will let guests fly like Iron Man. Now, when you hear that, you're kind of probably expecting maybe a VR headset of some sort, or like you're hoisted up in like a harness, or maybe you lay on something and like you can move and fly like Iron Man. No, not at all. Robert Downey Jr., though, is going to return and voice/play Iron Man in the ride, but it's just soaring. Soaring? Soar-in. Is it soar-in without the G, I think? With Iron Man. Or that Avatar Land ride with Iron Man. They have at least 2 or 3 of them. It's where you just sit in a chair, they're kind of like this one that I'm in. They strap you in, and then you just kind of... And the fucking concept art, it's supposed to be like, oh my god, it's this giant back-strapped, like a rocket pack or some jetpack thing. But it's just... It's a very disappointing... like, you hear the idea for the ride, and then you see what it's going to be, and it's just a huge disappointment. But at least they're doing something with Avengers Campus. Because, ooh! Nothing good came from Avengers Campus. It's kind of been a waste, aside from the Deadpool showing up with Wolverine recently. The Spider-Man ride no one likes, because it's a shitty, like one of those rides where you have a gun planted in the front of the car and you shoot at digital stuff. They had that Doctor Strange magic show, which is all right after for the first time you see it, and it's the exact same thing. They had the women from Black Panther, the Dora Milaje, doing a dance routine. They had the Pym's Test Kitchen, which, again, sounds like a fun idea. You get giant versions of food, but it's not that giant of a version of food. Or you get tiny versions of food, but not that tiny. There's the Spider-Man animatronic that flies up and around that videos were getting leaked of for years before they had officially announced what it was. And you get to meet Spider-Man, I guess. It's kind of a big waste of time. But now they're actually adding another attraction. I'm sure there's at least another ride that I'm forgetting about. But that's cool. Figure out some fucking way to make that shit work, I guess. First, look at the Cars attraction coming to Magic Kingdom in Florida. So this is seemingly similar to the ride that they have in the Anaheim Disneyland, which is you get into a car, you crawl inside of its innards, in its brain, and you control it. And you just go around this track, but the track in Disney California Adventure Park is it's Radiator Springs, so it's like that desert, that beautiful looking desert scenery that they had in the film. This one, based on the images, it looks more northern. It looks sort of Nebraska, Montana-ish. There's a lot of rocks and cliffs and greenery and like pine trees and waterfalls and snow. And it's based on this concept art. It's off-road as well. So, like in this image, there's some cars splashing through a river and continuing on. So it's like off-roading cars or something, which makes sense. I guess they got a bigger section to choose from in Disney World. So hey, why not go all out? And it also looks like it's set to be like you're taking part in a like off-roading race that has Lightning McQueen and Mater as its announcers. The RSN is apparently what it stands for, this race. I don't know what that could possibly be. Racing Sports Network? I don't know. But it looks cute based on what this is, and I've never heard a bad thing about the Cars Land stuff, so sure, cool. So there is going to be a Monsters, Inc. land at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now this is what gets interesting, because they're going to add a couple of things to the Disney Hollywood Studios, which, now that I'm talking about it, I think is in Disney World. And I am going to use my Google an episode to look that up. Disney Hollywood... I already forgot what it is. Disney Hollywood Studios. Fuck me, man. Disney Hollywood Studios. Yeah, that's in Florida. Okay. So yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of stuff going into this Hollywood Studios section because I thought it was in Anaheim. I was like, where the fuck are they fitting all this? But Disney Hollywood Studios is a section in Walt Disney World. This is where they're going to have a Monsters, Inc. land, which based on the concept art looks pretty fucking cool. Monsters, Inc., although that's Pixar. I do prefer Pixar movies to Disney movies for the most part. I love it. Funnily enough, this Monsters, Inc. land is going to have, let's see, based on the images, it has just, like, it's a giant outdoor area, and it has the big Titanic monsters facility factory back here, and like the main plaza and entryway and the street going down, and they shared concept art of like the neighborhood outside, like, you know, that we see Mike and Sully walk through. Even in the concept art they have Mike's car from that one Pixar short where he gets the new car. They're gonna have the restaurant that they go to in the film. It looks pretty cool for some. I gotta show this. That's God Almighty! I hope that's a real thing you can buy. It is a man carrying a little tentacled monster with eye stalks and one big tooth in a little baby Bjorn. But anyway, it's apparently going to be, what was it in my notes? It is the first suspended coaster at any Disney park. So there's what it's going to look like. If you can tell, it's funnily enough, it's almost exactly like what this is, which is the ride for the Iron Man thing, which is you get into the big chair and they strap you in and then you just kind of go for the ride, which is really funny that two new rides are having that exact same premise. But I guess I feel like it makes more sense for the Monsters, Inc. one, because how else are you going to do the door thing, the door room? Cool. That would be something neat to really see. That'd be a really interesting experience. Hopefully they've learned their lessons from Star Wars Land and Avengers Campus, and they make it more interesting to people and not just one shopping center. But based on the fact that it is Disney, I highly doubt it. It's probably just going to be, oh my gosh, look, 6 different Monsters, Inc. themed stores. And you can go in here and you can scream, you can learn how to scare kids or something, or make them laugh, or you can scream into the canister, and then the canister has like a playback thing, so whenever you unscrew the top, it's, your scream is in there, and people will probably use that to like, go fuck yourself. You know, really mess with it in a way that Disney didn't want you to. What else would they have there? They're going to have the restaurant that's going to have a long waiting times to begin with because everybody wants to go there. The restaurant's probably also going to have very special utensils, if it's anything like the Star Wars Land when it opened, which are going to get stolen and sold on eBay. Special cups and whatnot and merchandise, and hopefully that weird little tentacle baby. But it seems like a fun time. The first ever Disney Encanto Ride will open up at Walt Disney World in 2027. Cool. I don't think I have any pictures of this. I don't think there was anything that came out of that. No, there's not. Encanto, it's good. It's a fine movie. Don't know what the ride is going to be about. Something I am very interested in is the first look at the new Indiana Jones attraction coming to Disney Animal Kingdom in 2027. So this is based on the concept art. It is a new Indiana Jones ride after the only one that we've ever had is the one in, I guess, like Anaheim that is always shutting down because it's broken or something. But this seems kind of similar based on the concept art. You're driving through a Jeep as you kind of follow along with this Indiana Jones storyline. It's very Mayan-esque. It takes place in a Mayan temple, which is cool. There's like some sort of jade statue that Indy is trying to get after. There's like a beam of light that shines down and illuminates it or something. I am excited because I love Indiana Jones. Big part of my childhood. Huge fan of Indiana Jones. And it's cool to have, in some way, another story to go through. Hopefully when we go to Disneyland in October, I'll be able to ride the Disney Indiana Jones ride. I'm pretty sure it's there. I think it's at Disneyland. I don't fucking know. But that's pretty cool. What is not pretty cool is a Walt Disney animatronic is going to be debuting at Disneyland, California in 2025. The concept art shows it's a drawing of Walt Disney sitting at a bunch of like schematics for the park, and if anything, this just proves that they finally figured out a way to get Walt Disney's head unfrozen. First look at the COCO ride for Disney California Adventure. I don't know why I really included this. Maybe somebody will be interested. COCO, never saw it. Oh, wait, yeah, actually, I do remember seeing the picture of this. It is inspired by the Haunted Mansion and also Pirates of the Caribbean. It looks really pretty based on the concept art. It's very colorful and lively and vivid. But it seems like a boat river ride, very similar to the Pirates of the Caribbean. So it's like an enclosed building with like the river that goes through and you're on the boat. Oh yeah, here it is. An Avatar Land is officially coming to Disney California Adventure, which leads me to ask the question, where the fuck are they gonna build that at? Because if you don't know, it's a very enclosed area, so I don't know where the fuck that's gonna be built. Unless they're buying out more land is the only thing I can imagine, and they're like deconstructing some parking lots. or something maybe, because they're building a Avatar Land after they built the one in Walt Disney World, but this one is going to be inspired by Way of Water, Fire and Ash, and future Avatar sequels, whereas the one in Disney World is based kind of on the first movie and nothing else. Like, it's sort of its own thing. It's like I don't know, just go watch the Jenny Nicholson video on it. It's a weird little purgatory of Avatar storytelling. Here we go. A new Disney Villains Land is coming to Magic Kingdom in Florida. Disney World is adding a new land. They're not adding a section in a land that already exists. This is going to be an entirely new area. And that means that this is the beginning, the true beginning, I feel, of a new theme park wars. Because if you're unaware, Universal has an insane new land, as they call it, opening up sometime next year, I believe. And this is Disney's retaliation, 100%. I believe that fully. Universal's thing in Florida is it's called Epic Universe, and it's this giant sort of it's the Disney World idea where it's like a center, and then there's like surrounding areas that all connect to it. There's like the Universal Monsters area, which is like based on the original 20s versions. There is another Harry Potter land. There is a How to Train Your Dragon, Mario, Donkey Kong sort of stuff. Maybe another one. I can't remember. But people are just going crazy for this online. All the theme park people, all the, whatever people online, they're just going crazy. Universal has this massive fucking model of it built at their Florida location, and you can like look at it in augmented reality on your phone and all this crazy stuff. But this, you can't convince me otherwise, is Disney being like, oh wait, no, look at us, we got new stuff coming too. Because what the fuck is a Disney Villains Land? Who gives a shit about the villains? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, oh, it's Scartopia over here, and fuck me. Disney villain. Hades. I can't think of any Disney villains. Which? Most of them are witches. Also, I think Moana 2 got announced, or a trailer or something, for Moana 2. So I just got to tack that on there a little bit at the end, I guess. That just came to mind when I was trying to think of a villain, but I don't think Moana has a villain unless you count the ocean. Another Avatar, Avengers Campus sort of theme thing, I believe. I'm pretty sure this is going on Avengers Campus. This is the most interesting out of all of these, which is why it's last. Avengers Infinity Defense will take guests to New York, Wakanda, and Asgard to fight King Thanos in a multiverse battle. Construction starts next year. I believe this is probably going to be a trackless ride, similar to what's the ride? Rise of Skywalker? Yeah, that's what it's called. So yeah, the concept art for this looks fucking crazy. It's this huge, crazy looking building that I don't really understand what is going on. There's just, it looks like it's just madness. But one of the things is, it looks like it's in New York, maybe? It's Giant Man and Iron Man fighting the, like, Chitauri Black Rider sort of things from Infinity War and Avengers. The next one is in Wakanda, and it is Shuri, the Black Panther, alongside Hulk, fighting with a shield helicarrier crashing in the background, fighting the aforementioned Black Riders, who are those four-armed monster dog things from the Endgame. Then we see Thanos walking through a destroyed Sanctum Sanctorum, and he has his dual-bladed sword, which is glowing, and he's, I don't know if you've seen it, but you should look it up, because it's a really cool-looking design. It's Old Man Thanos. He's wearing his crown, full armor, long white beard. It's a pretty great-looking design. And I don't know. Oh, is this the... Oh, yeah, that's the... Oh, okay, so it looks like, based on this concept art, the things I was confused about earlier... Is that... is this going to show up? So that looks to be that Iron Man ride. And that right there is apparently the Infinity Defense ride. So I guess they're going to be next door to each other, which makes sense if it's going in Anaheim, because it's going to be crowded. But that's probably going to be a big seller, I imagine. A big reason to go. Because if it's on the level of interest and, like, creation as the Rise of the Resistance, that's what it is, Rise of the Resistance ride, which everybody still goes nuts for, then I'd imagine that would bring some newly needed revitalization to Avengers Campus. And, yeah, construction starts next year, and like I said, it's probably going to be a trackless ride based on the concept art of, like, the vehicles that the people are in, and the general idea, and also I feel like the popularity of the Rise of the Resistance ride is going to lead to more sort of similar things like that. Especially for these, like, bigger storytelling rides. I feel like the trackless sort of thing adheres more to, like, the storytelling aspect of it. Alright, now we move into animation. Jesus God. Full footage descriptions for everything at Marvel's animation panel at D23 includes What If Season 3. I got all these tweets, I should say, from Discussing Film on Twitter. So thank you, Discussing Film, for being so on it. What If Season 3? What If Season 3 includes an episode that features an Avengers team made up of pretty much the West Coast Avengers, kind of. Captain America, Moon Knight, Monica Rambeau, and more fighting against Gamma monsters. And the concept art, or the released images of it, just looks like Pacific Rim giant mech bullshit that I just have no real interest in. And this is also going to be the final season of What If, which means that I still need to watch Season 2. X-Men 97 Season 2, the X-Men are breaking through into the new millennium, seemingly, because they are now wearing the Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely era suits, which I am a big fan of. I am fine with that. I'd like to see how those sort of convert into these very Jim Lee-centric 90s versions of the characters. Marvel Zombies. Remember Marvel Zombies, that one episode from Season 1 of What If? And then they were like, we're making a whole show about this, and nothing ever came out about it. Well, now there is stuff about it. Marvel Zombies is going to be a, get this, 4-episode TVMA series. Event series, I'm sorry. It's going to be fucking insane then. It's going to be fucking graphic if it's TVMA. It is animated, so there's that. But that doesn't mean that they can't, if anything, they just get more brutal with it. The first teaser for Marvel Zombies reveals the Mandarin giving Shang-Chi the 10 rings to save his arm after he gets bitten by a zombie. And it also includes Shang-Chi, Katie, Jimmy Woo fighting a Skrull biker gang in a Mad Max-style sequence, which I did discuss this quite a while ago when the concept art from this leaked. There was the Skrull biker gang that we saw, and the like post-apocalyptic versions of Shang-Chi and Katie and some of the other characters. I think Hawkeye, maybe, Kate Bishop is going to be in there. I'm looking forward to that. That sounds really fun. And hey, if it gets more views onto my Marvel Zombies videos, I'm all for it. Eyes of Wakanda, which I completely forgot was going to be an animated show. Allegedly, an Iron Fist is going to appear in the Eyes of Wakanda. It is a series that is, quote, going to delve into Wakandan history, end quote. I don't know why I put the quotes there. So that's neat. Get to see some of the past of Wakanda. And add different characters into that. I don't know who. Todd Harris, not sure who that is developing the series, and he has served as the storyboard artist behind many modern action movies. Something I'm very excited about is Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Coleman Domingo will voice Norman Osborn in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I remember I looked him up to figure out who he is, and I was like, oh, it's that guy, and then I forgot who he is. Doctor Strange is apparently going to fight the symbiote in the show, so that's a cool crossover. The first clip reveals that Peter gets his spider bite when Doctor Strange and Venom come through a portal along with a spider. Whatever the fuck that means. I had an idea once for a comic, which I think was something along the lines of two time travelers are fighting each other, and it's like this whole epic battle. It's a completely unrelated story to what the comic is about, which is about, I think it was like just a Viking-esque man, like just a guy trying to live in like Scandinavia in the medieval ages. And just one day he's like out in the woods or something, and just this portal opens up and these two fucking super sci-fi crazy ass time travelers pop up, and they just fight the shit out of each other, and like one of them drops some of their devices or like gets blown away and loses some stuff, and then they go into another portal and just disappear for the rest of the story. And then the rest of the story is, what the fuck does this sort of earlier man, this Viking guy, what does he do with all this shit that he just came across? So that reminds me of that idea. It's always a fun idea, just to drop something in on a character and see how they react. Peter and Norman's relationship in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is a what-if-esque scenario, sort of like Peter and Tony from the MCU, but the main difference is that Peter is learning from Norman, who uses more questionable methods. Hudson Thames voices Peter Parker in the show, and he also voiced the character in What If Season 3, so I guess it's a completely different version, or different actor, than the one that voiced him in Season 2? Or Season 1, I mean, of What If? I guess? I don't know. So that's interesting. Well, I guess we'll see another. That means we're going to be seeing Spider-Man in some way in What If Season 3. Oh my god. Now we finally fucking get to the movies. Or films, as I have it titled. So this is the film news. Specifically the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. I don't know why I said films, because I'm talking about TV shows in here too. So this is just Marvel and Star Wars. That's what this is. We got the first looks of the Red Hulk and the new Fantastic Four costumes. Both look fantastic. And leaked video footage and images of the Daredevil Born Again teaser trailer. Kamala Khan's father will appear in Daredevil Born Again. White Tiger is set to make his first ever appearance in Daredevil Born Again. And what else was there? We get to see a character called Muse, who I am personally unfamiliar with, but it's apparently people like the character from like 2015 or so is when they were created. It's just a creepy Daredevil villain. We saw briefly a little bit of Bullseye. He's going to be in it, in the scene where he's walking through the smoke in slow motion. That scene appears. That was like a big thing that everybody got leaked from the set, like somebody up on the corner of a building filming down at the actors. Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock are speaking to one another in like a diner about like sort of making mutually assured destructive threats and stuff. It seems like Fisk is the mayor of New York, I believe. I haven't watched Echo. I don't know if anything of that happens in there, or at least he's running for mayor. I think he has a button on his lapel. Ironheart got a teaser trailer that was leaked. Riri Williams wants to build an, quote, iron suit with artificial intelligence, and the footage shows her doing jobs that, quote, aren't exactly legal, with Anthony Ramos's character, aka the Hood, to get money to build her new suit. And the Hood, he has the full hood, and he also has horrible looking, not in that they're bad, just that it's terrible and scary to look at, back tattoos of like just crazy supernatural, crazy demonic markings on his back. Kind of looks more like an infection than tattoos. That's the main things that really came out from Marvel. Mandalorian and Grogu got a very, very quick teaser trailer. It shows them with Zeborus Aurelios, whatever his full name is, Zeb, from Star Wars Rebels, my favorite Star Wars show. I like it more than Clone Wars, although they're both fantastic. Rebels is just the era of Star Wars I prefer. Zeb. He appeared in the last season of Mandalorian. Now he's going to be appearing in this. It also shows Mando and Grogu riding one of the sort of Clone Wars era chicken walkers. The speeding, little cart things that they ride on, like Kashyyyk, I think we see in episode 3. They show up a lot in the Clone Wars TV show. But they're running down there on a frozen ice planet, and they swoop down, and an AT-AT is there, and it starts shooting at them, and it's crazy. Also, Mandalorian and Grogu are going to come to Smuggler's Run at Galaxy's Edge. I don't know why I didn't include that in the parks section, but I should have. Although this is mostly, it just seems like it's an additional... I don't know if it's like them in character, or if this means like, oh yeah, there's an extra like mission part of the ride that involves you going on this mission with Mandalorian and Grogu. Skeleton Crew is officially announced to be streaming with a 2-episode series premiere on December 3rd. That looks really fun. Has the little baby elephant. It looks neat. Hopefully it's better than The Goonies, a movie that I hate, that people keep attributing to being inspired, this show is inspired by. And finally, Andor Season 2. It will have Krennic from Rogue One, Saw Gerrera, also from Rogue One, and Clone Wars, and the video games, and Rebels, and a bunch of other shit. That's the craziest thing, is how much Star Wars stuff Saw Gerrera has been in. And K2SO. And it's also apparently going to feature more sort of rebellious activity with wider protests occurring across the Empire. And now at just under an hour and a half in, that is a wrap on the just way too much fucking Disney stuff. Oh my god, I've talked about more Disney stuff in this past hour and a half than I have probably in the past month. Good lord, that was a lot. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Do you have any specific thoughts on anything that Disney announced at D23 regarding their other Disney-owned shit, or the parks, or the Star Wars and the Marvel films? Do you go to the parks? Have you been to the parks? Have you ever visited them, either American or otherwise? Japan has one, China, France. Is that it, I think? Although most of my audience is American, so probably either Disney World or Disneyland. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you have any recommendations on what we should do when I get to Disneyland for my very first time, let me know. And as always, follow me on Instagram at @NotBlakeWild. Check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos, and my Etsy shop, BlakeTWild@Etsy.com. Come by Tucson Comic Con, August 30th to September 1st, 2024, at booth AA183. And say hi and pick up some stuff. And I will see you next time. Bye.